Today on GBA to Z, we're taking a look at The Incredibles.
Super strength, super speed, invisibility, elasticity. These are your powers. Bombs, bullets, robots, lasers, your enemy controls them all. The only way to survive being the Incredibles is to be truly incredible.
Developed by Helix, The Incredibles was released exclusively for the Game Boy Advance on October 31st, 2004, just 5 days before the film released. So I went to see The Incredibles in the movie theater last week, which was part of Disney's 100th anniversary celebration, and on my way home it had me wondering, why would you create a superhero suit where the main button for the location tracker makes the suit light up and make noise? Wouldn't you think some of the missions that the people go on could be spy missions? I mean, come on, Edna, that's 101 stuff. It also had me wondering if the Incredibles Game Boy Advance game was any good. So yeah, I decided to play it when I got home. The game follows the movie, and it does a great job of hitting all the plot points. We don't get every single detail, and some things play out a bit differently than how the movie shows them, but it takes you from beginning to end. The tutorial even has you helping Squeaker the cat, who's stuck up in a tree. Still images with text under them deliver the story in between levels, and surprisingly, they look pretty good for the Game Boy Advance. Easy to understand and easy to follow. Good job. Throughout the 30 plus levels, you get to play as 5 characters, 4 from the Parr family, Mr. Incredible, Elastigirl, Dash, and Violet, and the coolest of cool, Frozone. When you play as Mr. Incredible, the game is more of your stereotypical side-scrolling beat-em-up. He can punch, uppercut, ground smash, jump kick, and air stomp. He can also dash side to side as well as dodge up and down by double tapping the directions. Just to be clear, that means you can double tap to dash not only left and right, but up and down as well. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a 2D beat 'em up before. It's when you get to the other characters' levels that you start to see the more unique mechanics that the game has to offer. Elastigirl can stretch to attack, disarm, or climb, turn into a parachute to glide, or flail her elastic arms for an AoE attack. Dash has you running through levels where you'll need to dodge or jump over obstacles. His Incredisprint makes him run even faster, and he can also jump on enemies to attack them. Violet is able to create a force field that can protect herself and others, or it can damage enemies. She's also able to use invisibility to sneak past them. Frozone skates on top of the ice. You'll need to collect bottles of water to keep making ice paths and ramps. Unlike some other games, you can't switch between characters on the fly because the levels are built around them. The first GBA Ninja Turtles game did this as well. I kinda like the idea. It creates a more balanced level for the characters that can play into their unique movesets. One of my favorite parts of the game is at the end when Syndrome's remote control wristband is being passed from person to person to keep it away from the Omnidroid. Every time it gets passed, starts a new level featuring a different character. It's like they've taught you how to use everyone earlier in the game, and now they chain them all together for you to play back to back to back. Cool idea and works well. If you hold the right or left button down, you'll see your character get a white highlight around them. This means that any ability they do next will be upscaled to an Incredimove. It'll use some of your Incredipower, which you can fill back up by attacking enemies or picking up an Incredible token. For example, Mr. Incredible's Ground Slam will stagger the enemies around you, but do an Incrediground Slam and it will stagger, disarm, and damage them. There were 2 levels that really stuck out to me because the devs saw an opportunity and went with it. One is when Mr. Incredible is being captured by the guns that shoot the gravity balls. You can't actually make it out of the room because the game has to progress like the movie does, but by avoiding them the best you can and making it to the end of the room, you can get 3 extra lives. Adds a little something to the challenge. Another level is with the robotic parrot that alerts guards if it sees you. If you're quick enough, you can dash and destroy the bird before it can call in any backup. Do it right all 4 times it shows up, and you can run through the entire area without ever having to fight any enemies. As for bosses, we really only get to fight 2 different ones. Interestingly, we fight Bon Voyage in the beginning, which doesn't actually happen in the movie, but it's fun to see how it may have played out. And then multiple times in the game we fight Omnidroids. Even on the Game Boy, they're portrayed as large as you think they'd be, taking up most of the screen. There's not a ton of variety, but that's how the movie did it. Let's talk about the graphics, character designs, and levels because they're really well done. Everyone looks cartoony and the colors pop. I was surprised to see just how good everything still looks. The characters look like you'd expect them to, and their movements are fluid. Some of the scenes with Dash are just so well done. The attention to detail is here too. Mr. Incredible is in great shape when he's younger, and he's definitely packed on some pounds 15 years later. Someone decided to make 2 slightly different sprites because they cared about what they were doing. Even though a bunch of enemies are the same style, they're made different colors to show that they use different weapons. The bigger weapons also require bigger enemy sprites, which is another nice detail. Speaking of enemies, the turrets don't just shoot left and right, they can shoot in multiple directions, including angles. I'm trying to remember the last time I've seen that in a 2D beat 'em up. There are tons of different level designs too. However many places you think are in this game, double it and then triple that. Street, rooftops, jungle, mountain, volcano, ocean, cave, facility main area, facility rafters, train station, another cave, the beach, the secret bad guy computer bridge. There's one scene in the beginning of the game in the jungle where you can see lava in the background, and that's where you're headed in order to fight the first boss. So do I like The Incredibles? Yeah, I do, and I'm surprised how much I enjoyed it. I ended up playing through it in one sitting, and besides a few annoying things, I liked it a lot. This game is also cheap as hell. I've seen copies of it around $1.99 before, and trust me, no one is going to fight you over it. Few issues I did have with the game. Mr. Incredible can't walk upstairs for some reason. He can walk down them fine, but you have to jump to get up them. Just make him able to walk up and down stairs like a normal human being. Next, Elastigirl's stretch moves work weirdly well for the gimmick that they are. However, platforming with her can be on the clunky side, especially when you have to stretch on an angle. Just needs to be smoothed out a bit and it'll be fine. I'm not a fan of Violet's character in general. She was the least fun to play, and even when I was invisible, it seemed that the enemies still knew where I was. Not sure what they could have done with her offensively though, but defensively she works well. Lastly, the area of attack on enemies should be a hair bigger. You can see that I'm close to some, but missing my attacks because I'm not right up on them. Just expand the area out a bit, and just to remain fair, it can be expanded on the player's characters too. There's a sequel to this game, which funnily enough isn't actually the sequel to the movie. Rise of the Underminer was also developed by Helix and released in 2005. It takes place exactly where the movie ends, and you play as Mr. Incredible and Frozone. It's more of a puzzle platforming beat 'em up, and you can switch between characters at any time. I played it quite a bit, but didn't like it anywhere near as much as I liked this one. Just letting you know it's there in case you finish this and are looking for more Incredibles to play. There's also a LEGO Incredibles game that came out a few years back and is great. Definitely worth a playthrough if you're into either LEGO or the Incredibles. Next time we'll take a look at Monster Force, and if there's a specific game you'd like to see reviewed on GBA-Z, just leave it down in the comments. First person to tell me what GBA game this audio clip is from, I'll pin your comment to the top and send you something in the mail. And don't edit your comment or you're disqualified. Stay nerdy. I'm out.
Getting your nerd on, getting your nerd on, getting your nerd on.
I got a raging nerd on.